Hello, what is up YouTube? My name is G3Iron and today we are doing a build review guide. For those of you wondering what is a build review guide, it is pretty much where we take apart one of our Patreon supporters' builds that they've put together. Maybe they've been following a guide, maybe they have been looking to craft a guide, and we're going to take it apart and hopefully give some feedback and some suggestions on what to do next. I don't do this on a wide scale just for anybody that asks, because frankly there would be too much work to do, and I wouldn't be able to get to them all. So I only do it for patrons, and I only do it for specific levels of patrons. So if you want more info on that, you can always go and check out our Patreon website, or you can join our Discord and ask me there if you've got a particular question. But today we're taking a look at Triangulated's BigOlLightBulb. That's the character that we're going to be looking at today. He's in Standard League. He wants to try to refine and really push this character to the limits. This character takes advantage of double Ichimonji, so Triangulated right off the bat. I'm just going to let you know right away, as soon as I opened up your POB and your character profile, your Ichimonjis, man, they can both be improved. So right now you're using two Ichimonjis, which is great. One of them that's right here. Why is this not pulling up? There we go. One of them right here. This is not perfect on the roll, so I'm sure you're aware of that. I'm not going to be pointing out anything I don't think too earth-shattering here to you. But upgrading your increased physical damage is going to be a way that seriously scales your damage on this. So even changing the values on these in Path of Building is a way just to check and see if it's worth it for you to go out in Standard and get some perfect Ichimojis. So the Ichi can roll between 80 to 95% increased physical damage, and then it can roll between 5 to 10 to 13 to 20 on the top side of the added physical damage. So you've got a top end roll on the physical damage here, but then you're just 2 off from being perfect on the physical, and then you're 6 point off from the increased roll as well. So just a thought there. And then in terms of the attack speed, you're also a little bit off on the attack speed. It's 23 is where you're at on your main hand, 25 is the max. On your offhand, you're at 23 again, but you're a little bit closer to max. You are max on the increased physical damage, but then your flat added isn't as good. So again, if you're looking to improve, and we're talking in Standard here, so you had PM'd me on Discord and said that you had about 9x worth of currency to spend in Standard. So if you're looking to min-max, one of the ways to do it through your damage is going to be right here through the Ichimonji. Your main skill, why is this all this other stuff that's pulled up on mine? Here we go. Here's your Ancestral War Chief. That looks terrible. What is going on here? What's up with your skills? This is stuff from my old stuff, so my apologies that that's showing up here. Your War Chief, Whirling Blades, and Cleave. Here we go. So pulling up Cleave, this is your average damage right now with everything that you've got stacked up. So we don't have perfect quality on Chance to Bleed. That's okay. I'm sure you've got a few extra GCP sitting around inside your Standard stash tab somewhere. This is awesome that your melee physical is already at 23. That's great. It's great that you've already got your 6 link, which is awesome. This Belly of the Beast, which is great. The Belly of the Beast, in terms of your rolls on this, I think you're almost perfect across the board on your Belly of the Beast. So I don't think I was gonna tell you to upgrade this. Yeah, you're pretty much perfect on that. In terms of your increased life, I guess you could increase a little bit more with this belly. So you're at 35 right now, and you're at 14 all resists. But your armor on this is also low, but you're mid-tier for your max life and your upper half of the max elemental resistance. So if your elemental resistances are capped, which according to POB down here on the bottom left, you're not capped. You're at 73, 63, 37. So if you can cap that, that would obviously be something to do, just because as long as you're not capped, you're essentially nerfing yourself and your own damage. I understand if you're playing as a jug, there's a lot of different factors that are going in, particularly with endurance charges that are going to help out. But that's just a general piece of advice, is to always cap your resistances. In terms of your jewels, this jewel is pretty awesome because you've got the physical damage on it, as well as damage with swords, as well as damage with bleeding. That's great. I think this is probably your best jewel out of the 3, this Oblivion Scratch. Just straight up, it's only got 3 stats on it, so that's going to be an opportunity for you to improve with only 3 stats. You could simply slam an Exalt on that just to see what you get. But if you'd rather spend the money, then you could increase your damage by either looking for a jewel that has got increased to swords, increased damage while dual wielding would be another stat line that you could look for, along with increased bleeding damage and attack speed. Attack speed would be another one to look for. So that's like 4 different stats that you could be looking for on the ideal perfect jewel that you would be looking for. In terms of your flasks, using the rot gut, okay, for your for your movement speed, that's cool. I guess that makes sense according to the build guide. I think according to your build guide that you're following, and this will all be posted down below for anybody else that's interested, but I want to say I was looking here at your flasks. Yeah, for your unique flasks, here's your Lion's Roar, and I think you're using one right here, but I don't think it's perfect. I think Lion's Roar goes up to, what is it, 25? Or is it 30? Yeah, 25 is the max for Lion's Roar. So again, if you can upgrade that from the 23 to a 25, again, these are not, we're not talking here like these are massive build flaws that you need to go back and remake a character, right? What we're saying is, hey, you've got an opportunity to really grow your character because there's a lot of little things, little upgrades that you can make here and there that are essentially min-maxing. In terms of your perseverance, this is a decently rolled one, but I would, again, just look for upgrades. So you've got the max life on it, but then in terms of your, where is it? In terms of your cold res, I don't think this one was maxed. Yeah, 35 to cold res, which it can go up to 40, and your cold res is not capped, so that extra 5% resistance is going to matter. Your ring, of course, you've got Comb's Way. That's fantastic. That's fine. But then you've got Blight Circle, which is giving you, adds 3 to 11 physical damage to attacks. I believe the minimum on a steel ring can go to 4 on the minimum roll, so you might be wanting to upgrade your ring there. Decent physical roll on that. You're probably needing that intelligence for gems. Maybe. I don't think you've got that many blue gems in your setups though. Whirling, but yeah, that's not going to be, none of this stuff is going to be blue. This is all stuff that's left over, by the way. All of this other blue stuff is stuff that's left over in POB from one of my builds that I was just playing with. Yeah, so I don't think you're going to have a whole bunch of stuff that's going to need intelligence. But it could be that a couple of your uniques require intelligence for you to use. So that being said, I would say the fact that you've got double resistances on this ring is great. I think that looks great. I think if you can somehow upgrade it to a steel ring that's either got just flat life and triple resists. I know that's like, oh, iron, that's going to be so expensive. I know, but we're talking about min-maxing your build here. So if we're just looking to min-max this thing, I would probably drop a couple of X on a really, really nice steel ring. If you can afford that, to either get triple res or double res plus life rather than the mana. That's just probably what I would be looking for. Also, the added 1 to 23 lightning damage to attacks. I think you're using brutality, right, on your cleave setup. So yeah, I mean, you deal no chaos and no elemental damage. So it's not worth your time to get anything that's got an elemental stat on it in terms of your item slots. Your helmet is decent right now. It's got the cleave damage stat on it. That's great. It could bear with some improvement. One of the things that you could do is you could go for oh goodness, I forget what the I think it's a delve. I think it's a delve stat line where you go for percentage max HP on a helm. I believe that is a delve specific stat line that you can get, so you can get flat life plus maximum life, but I could be thinking that that's on a chest piece, so I could be confused on that. But there's a couple of different helms out there that I think even just as unique helms might be better for you here. The reflects 5 damage to melee attackers is just useless for you at this point. I mean, you're already clearing couple hundred adepts with this level of character, and you're already mapping whatever map you want to take down. You're taking it down and no problem. So at this point, again, we're talking about min-maxing. I think you get rid of that line. I think that the amount of armor and evasion that you're getting off of this sort of helmet really doesn't matter for the grand scheme of things in terms of your defenses. So you don't even need to get like a helmet that's got a bunch of added armor and evasion. You could essentially be running, you know, a hubris almost with added energy shield, as long as it had a better life roll and triple resists, because again, your resistances are not yet capped. I might even look for, depending on how often you're running temples, I might even look for a helm that's actually got chaos resistance on it, so that way if you're doing your alpha incursions, you don't get one shot by the by the chaos spitters as soon as you enter into an incursion depth. Not a depth, but an incursion zone. Those guys are often super duper annoying. So other than that, I like what you're doing here with your flasks. I like what you're doing here with your gems. Another thing that you can do on the tree, and this is just boring. I know it's boring, but you can always look for extra additional sockets for jewels. So when you're looking at this side of the tree, there's a couple of places to go. You can come over here for 3 points because you're already running along this passage near Resolute Technique. You can, for 3 points, that's another jewel socket. Now I know right now you're saying, Iron, I'm already level 91. I'm not necessarily going to grind to level 94. And if you are, if this is the character that you're hoping to min-max and take to level 100, that's great. But I think when you're looking at it, you can look right here at a jewel socket and go, okay, what's the value that I'm going to get out of a jewel socket? Either stacking a flat physical damage Abyss Jewel, or stacking something like what we were talking about earlier, stacking something with 4 affixes that matters for you, whether that's dual wielding, damage with swords, flat physical damage with swords, whether that's damage with bleeds, attack speed is another thing, or attack speed with swords. Those are all going to be valuable stat lines for you. And you can simply remove some of these stat lines, right? Like Diamond Skin, you're getting 15 all resistance, which you clearly need, right? For some of your resistances, you clearly need those 15 all resistance from Diamond Skin. But this right here is 2 points, like right here. So I'm not saying that this is like, oh, you need to tear apart your tree and start all over again. I'm simply saying this is one of the ways that if you, again, you want to min-max, you can pull some points from here. And as you're upping those resistances on your helm, on your one particular steel ring, and then as you're looking at potentially upgrading your resistances on your your ring right here, your helm right here, and then maybe even potentially maybe that 4th slot for a jewel, increase some item resistance or some all elemental resistances. Like getting Diamond Skin is 15 all resist, right? That's great, but what if you can get like 10 all resistance on a jewel? Like, sure, it's 5 difference, but then if there's 3 other stats on the jewel that you can grab, then it's totally worth grabbing the jewel socket over grabbing just Diamond Skin, right? So hopefully that makes sense to you as you're trying to min-max and just differentiate there. In terms of your stat requirements, you're grabbing some dex and grabbing some ancestral knowledge because you need the int. That's fine. What I would do right here is 30 intelligence. You can come up here for 1, 2, 3. Again, for 3 passives, you can rearrange your tree a little bit, pull away from here, and come grab. That's 20 more intelligence right there, plus a jewel socket. Again, what's the benefit of the jewel socket? Well, there's a lot of benefits to jewels. There's a lot of different ways that you can min-max your damage as well as your survivability just by messing around a little bit with jewel sockets. The next closest jewel sockets you've already hit over here. This one that's down near Hatchet Master and Point Blank is just too far away for you to grab. It is possible, I did notice, like you're double overlapping how you come up through here. So like these points, these 3 points that are right here for expertise, ancestral knowledge, and then the one that connects them, those 3 points aren't needed to connect these 2 trees, because you could simply work your way over here by another jewel socket or wrap your way around here. Like, yes, this is 3 points and it's very, very quick. It gets you through, but it's only a couple extra points for you to come through here where strong arm is at, and you get added physical damage with one-handed melee weapons and increased attack speed if you come through here. So yes, this is fine. Like, you need the connection technically, but there's other ways to connect it through that I think will be more beneficial to you if you can grab these stats on some other items. This is one of the things that's tough about this particular build and this particular build guide, is that you're really jammed for stats. And so again, I know I'm kind of like shilling here for jewels. If you can grab a jewel socket, sometimes it's worth it on a build that requires a lot of uniques, because a lot of those stats, whether they're all resistance, whether they're attributes that you need in order to run certain skills or certain other equipment, can be very, very valuable and can be build enabling if you just grab a couple extra jewels. So the fact that you've only got 3 jewel slots right now that you're using is kind of surprising. Over here you've got more melee damage, which 4% increased damage with ailments with attack skills while wielding a weapon would give you better bleed DPS, and you get that twice, as well as just 4% more melee or increased melee, and then you get another jewel socket. right? That's right off your main path that you're working along. So that's another 3 points that you could grab right there. Again, not trying to say you need to tear apart your whole build, just saying, hey, there's some jewel sockets that you should consider because they're already along your tree pathing. There's some connecting points that maybe there would be more beneficial spots to connect with. And then there's a couple of different items that you could definitely min-max in terms of their unique roles, as well as a couple of different jewels that you could probably be looking at to add to your defensive abilities. So all that being said, hopefully that's helpful to you. Hopefully I just gave you a bunch of stuff to go spend currency on in standard triangulated. And hopefully we're going to get to see what your character looks like after you've upgraded all of this stuff, because this is really, really cool. I really like your character. I really like Ichimoji characters. I really like Belly of the Beast characters. And then Perseverance is just really, really fun because of the Fortify effect and then the Onslaught effect that you get to have. So very, very fun character. I'm sure you're enjoying it. Let me know down below or send me a Discord triangulated if you're going to try and push this thing to 100, because in that case you have 9 additional points that you get to play with. Or really 8, I guess level 100, you're not going to really care about what you do at the 100th point. But you've got, 8 other points that you get to do. So you wouldn't even have to make any changes to your tree, because you've got actually, what is that, 2 different jewel sockets that you can get over the next 6 levels? Yeah, here's 1, here's 2. And then, yeah. Seems like there's a lot to play with and a lot that you can improve. Again, it's very, very much min-maxing, but there's a lot that you can play around with here if you want to min-max this character. Let me know, though, if you are going to try and push level 100 with this guy, because I'd be interested to see what the results are. And then also let me know what delve depth you're at, because I'd love to know just how far you can push this guy with the double Ichimoji. I've heard varying levels of success with the double Ichimoji setup. So anyway, thanks so much again for your support, Triangulated, and I hope that today is the day a Mirror of Calandra drops for you while you're messing around building this guy in Standard.